Thank you, friends, for inviting me to share with you. Um, Many of you know that my name is Alex Awad. I'm a Palestinian Christian who lives in the United States. And many Palestinians don't know anything about United Methodist for Kairos Response. But if they knew anything about United Methodist Kairos Response, they would want to say thank you. So on behalf of Palestinians who know and Palestinians who don't know, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, United Methodist for Kairos Response, for everything you are doing to bring about understanding, peace, and justice to all Palestinians and Israelis who live in the Holy Land. Today, I want to speak about revisiting the Jericho Road. I love this theme because when I was about 60 years younger, going to school in East Jerusalem, at that time, East Jerusalem was still under Jordanian control. So a group of us students and I would rent bicycles and pedal or bicycle from Jerusalem to Ramallah or from Jerusalem to Jericho. At that time, there were no checkpoints or walls, and the round trip to Ramallah was easy go since the highway was relatively less hilly. But bicycling to Jericho was a different adventure. Going down to Jericho was easy since we were bicycling to a city that is below sea level. However, to bicycle back to Jerusalem was impossible. So we placed our bicycles in the back of the Jericho-Jerusalem bus and enjoyed the ride while the bus engine did the hard work. As the years rolled on, whenever I would travel from Jerusalem to Jericho, I inevitably observed the changes that the road and its neighborhoods had experienced over the years. The 2-lane highway is now 4-lane highways. The visitor will also notice Israeli settlements that have been illegally constructed at various locations along the road on all expropriated Palestinian lands. Jesus must also have been fascinated by the Jericho Road. In one of the most popular parables, the story of the Good Samaritan, Jesus chose the Jericho Road as the background for the story. Today, we are going to revisit the Jericho Road and see what new lessons we can learn from the story that Jesus told 2,000 years ago. Because of time constraints, I want to focus only on the main characters of the story to see how we can let the parable speak to us today. The first character we are going to be visiting with are the robbers. The man who was attacked, the first character we are going to be talking about is the man who was attacked by the robbers. That's better, yeah. And the scripture says, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. Such a scenario, unfortunately, is taking place before our eyes today in many parts of the world. I see the people of Ukraine on the Jericho Road. Millions have fled their homes. Hundreds, if not thousands, have been killed, and the amount of suffering cannot be measured since every road in Ukraine has become a Jericho Road. The people of Syria had been struggling to survive their Jericho Road catastrophe for the last 15 years. There is a Jericho Road going through the country we call Yemen. And Palestinians have a 7-decade-long history of being abandoned on the Jericho road. There are others who suffer injustice, but time will not allow me to include all who suffer injustice, discrimination, or human rights abuses. The irony here is that in Palestine, some of the folks whose lives and livelihoods are threatened live in the vicinity of the Jericho road. The people of Silwan, for example, where a whole Palestinian neighborhood is threatened, is only a mile away from the Jericho road. Another example is the people of Sheikh Jarrah, where Palestinians are losing one home after the other to Israeli settlers. It's about 5 miles from the Jericho road. Our dear friends at Wadi Fukin and our friends at Tent of the Nations are less than 10 miles from the Jericho road. All Palestinians are currently experiencing the Jericho road. Palestinian rights, lands, homes, freedoms are being stolen. What does the man, woman, or child who are being attacked by the robbers want? Simply justice, an end to land theft, an end to beatings, an end to incarcerations, an end to torture, an end to home demolitions, an end to occupation, an end to the siege, an end to racism. May our ears and hearts continue to always be attentive to those who are crying out along the Jericho road. The second group I want to talk about, or the second personalities, are the robbers. In paintings of the story of the Good Samaritan, the robbers usually look like, nasty, mean, ugly men with sticks and daggers on them. However, today's robbers are men and women with expensive attire, and they sit in air-conditioned buildings. Some of them are heads of states, others are members of parliaments or Congress. Some of them serve in the Israeli Knesset. Some are business people and investors. Many of them make speeches at the United Nations, but at the end of the day, they are the ones that are inflicting pain on other humans for political, nationalistic, or personal greed. Who are the robbers of today? Will you volunteer a few names? Here, I'll volunteer a name. How about Putin? How about Netanyahu? How about Naftali Bennett? How about Israeli Deputy Prime Minister Gantz? The Israeli settlers? Any more? Don't forget those who invaded Iraq and killed or injured millions of Iraqis after claiming falsely that Iraq has stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction. That is us. Okay, the third group I want to talk about are the priests. In telling the story, Jesus said a priest also was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. He went by, he saw the victim, and he walked on the other side. Well, the priest represents the top leaders of the religious communities of all religions and all Christian denominations. Historically, traditional religious leaders cared little. I'll repeat that because of the traffic sound. Historically, traditional religious leaders cared little for persons suffering abuse in their communities, since they aspire to stay on good terms with political authorities to protect their privileges and church properties. I read the other day about the 175 Russian Orthodox bishops who signed a petition calling on Putin to stop his attack on Ukraine. This was good and encouraging news. However, the article ended by stating that the Archbishop himself was not willing to sign the letter, since he is a good friend of Putin. Top religious leaders become politicians. Yes, from time to time, they utter encouraging statements, make serious denouncements, or sign their names on human rights petitions, but barely are they willing to bend on their knees to minister to the suffering or have victims ride in their own limousines. United Methodist bishops are not exception. Once I sent emails to about 15 United Methodist bishops asking them to express solidarity with the people of Sheikh Jarrah, and only one bishop responded to my emails. After leaders, often leaders at the top compose great sermons on the topic of justice, and at their general assemblies, they make heart-rending speeches on solidarity with the poor and oppressed. But many of them would not lift a finger to help a dying person. They are not interested in applied justice. The message of Jesus to the priest is, go and do likewise. The fourth group on my list is the Levites. And again, Jesus said in his story, a Levite followed the priest, and he was walking down the Jericho road, and he looked at the victim, and he passed by without helping him. The Levite represents all of us who have ministry positions in the church: pastors, evangelists, youth leaders, Sunday school teachers. Many of us Levites care about justice. We care about helping the poor and standing with the oppressed. We know that this is what Christ expects from us. However, we have an organization called the Church with capital letters. And we spend most of our time and energy keeping it well greased and functioning. We are doing so good in keeping our church institutions running that we often are not able to make time to help a person crying for our help on the Jericho road. If the attendance is good on Sunday morning and the offering covers all expenses, including vacations and sabbaticals, why rock the boat? Not unlike our bishops, we also compose beautiful sermons on the theme of peace and justice, but that is as far as many of us go. But among us, there are a few Levites who are willing to risk all and stop to help a stranded stranger on the Jericho road. The last person I want to talk about, or group of people I want to talk about, is the Good Samaritan. And you know the story, but a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. And you know the rest of the story, how he took care of him, took him to the inn, and told the innkeeper, look after him, and when I return, I'll reimburse you for any extra expense you may have. Well, this is one of the most interesting paradoxes in the story, because the Samaritan is the enemy of the man who was attacked. On today's Jericho road, it is not much difference. Those who are coming to help Palestinians, most Palestinians, maybe 98% of them are Muslims, but most Palestinians, those who are coming to help Palestinians in their suffering, are folks like Jewish Voice for Peace, B'Tselem, an Israeli human rights organization, Amnesty International, and yes, a few mainline Christian denominations. In my list of Good Samaritans, I like to include Israeli journalists Amira Haas and Gideon Levy, Israeli historian Ilan Pape, Jewish theologians such as Mark Braverman and Brent Cohen. These people have risked much to stand with the Palestinians stranded on the Jericho road. I would not be fair if I did not include my friends, you, United Methodists for Kairos Response. FASNA, Methodist Federation for Social Actions, and hundreds of small and large advocacy groups in the United States and around the world who are doing so much to fight injustice. So again, I say on my behalf, on behalf of the Palestinian people, we are most thankful. What is Jesus' recommendation to the Good Samaritan? I think it's clear. Do not quit until the man, the woman, the child who is beaten and attacked by the robbers is restored to health, security, freedom, and life. Martin Luther King, in his Beyond Vietnam speech, suggested the restructuring of the Jericho Road. He said, on the one hand, we are called to play the Good Samaritan on life's roadside, but that will only be an initial act. One day, we must come to see that the whole Jericho Road must be transformed so that people will not be constantly beaten and robbed as they make their journey on life's highway. True compassion, Martin Luther continues, is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. It comes to see that an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring. Wow, I so much agree with him. I invite you, my friend, to revisit the Jericho Road and let us remove the structures of injustice and replace them with the bridges of love and fairness. Thank you so much, and God bless you.